into account the sizable foundation that needs to be implemented underneath the wind turbine, as well as the 14-degree slope that's adjacent to the site, which will make construction materials difficult to get to that site. And then with geothermal, the constructability is relatively straightforward. However, we propose that the construction of geothermal be postponed till the fall, when the baseball diamond is no longer being used during the summer months. And this would mean that there could be noise issues from the drilling of the geothermal wells during the school hours. So this is an issue that we definitely will need to address later on in our final design. So seen here is the decision matrix for constructability. We gave it the weight of 10%, which is the smallest, because we don't think that this will substantially impact which design will be chosen. However, we did note that option 1 is the most easily constructed because it will be installed over the summer months when you guys are not here. And as well, it'll be on the roof, so nobody will have to see it or get in the way of it during construction. And then design option 2 has the most difficult constructability due to that foundation and the slope that's right next to it. So now I'm going to hand it off to Connor, who's going to talk about the economic analysis.
So can you see if I stand like right here? Okay. Okay, so for the economic analysis, we found it pretty important to first talk about the initial cost of each design alternative.
That's what you should do.
Okay, so with these initial costs, we found that the option 1, the option with just the solar array, has the lowest initial cost. Option 2, the option that's just the wind turbine system, has the second lowest upfront cost. And then our design option 3, the option that pairs geothermal and solar, has the third lowest cost, or the highest cost, I guess I should say. So with these initial costs, as well as the operation and maintenance costs and the annual energy cost savings, we can determine that simple payback period that we talked about earlier. With this, we found option 1 had the lowest payback period with 11 years. Option 2, the option with wind, had the highest payback period with 18.5 years. And option 3 had the middle payback period with 14.5 years. So we'll talk about this a little bit later, but if you were paying attention to our design objectives, this payback period is a little past that 7 years that we hoped it would be. So this information can be expressed graphically, and I just want to show that after 30 years, you can see that the option 3 had the most cumulative savings. So that's something that is also important to consider. So overall, economic sustainability was given a weight of 20%, as it is often a deciding factor in design implementation, particularly when the client has limited funds. So for this analysis, we found that option 1, again, the option with just solar, scored the best, followed by option 3, and lastly with option 2. So with that, I'm going to hand it to Brooke, who's going to talk about the social sustainability of these design alternatives.
Thank you, Connor. All right, so when we looked at our social sustainability analysis, we considered 3 different criteria, those being view obstruction, potential disruption to school use, and then lastly, the educational value of each of the 3 design options that we proposed to you today. So beginning with the view obstruction of each option. So both with solar panels and that geothermal system that we proposed to you today, there would be minimal visual obstruction. You would be able to see the solar panels walking by on the ground, but it's a relatively minimal visual obstruction. And as we noted with the geothermal system, post-construction, you're not going to see that system at all. As you can see, it's completely underground, and so it's not visible by the people using the field. Comparing that to the wind turbine, that's going to be a major dominant feature on the landscape. So the whole community will see it, as Juda School is on a dome, so it sits above the rest of the community, so it'll be very visible by neighbors and community members. Additionally, it would cause a view disruption for students playing in the playyard. Next, we consider the disruption of each option. For solar panels, as Robin stated, we would propose implementing these solar panels during the summer months when there would likely be fewer people using the school building, so there would really be minimal disruption in terms of that construction period. For design option 2, the wind turbine, there would not only be disruption during construction, but also after construction is complete. during construction, that whole area would need to be closed off and wouldn't be able to be used by students. After construction, there is always a concern for noise. Students playing would likely hear some noise, although it's not to like a safety level. It would still disrupt the students and potentially even neighboring community members. And then in terms of disruption for design option 3, which includes both the solar array and the geothermal system, the geothermal system, we propose constructing it in that baseball diamond outfield, so that space would not be able to be used during construction, which is why we propose constructing that system in the fall. Lastly, we considered the educational value of all 3 of the designs that we propose to you today. This is something that's really important to us, that we propose something that students can learn from. You probably recognize this image. That's something that Mr. Anderson has up on the Juda website. And we think that's a great way of learning from any renewable energy system, is looking at how much energy you're producing and what that's saving and what it turns around in terms of like carbon, CO2 offset in terms of emissions. So that's a great way that students can learn from all 3 of the design options. So here's a summary of the social analysis. You can see option 1 did the best of all 3 of the options with minimal visual obstruction and disruption. However, we feel that for design option 3, the disruption could be minimized if we install that system during the fall when the baseball diamond is not in use. So I want to just wrap everything up and refresh everyone. Design option 1, we proposed installing a 990 module solar array system. Design option 2 was that 37-meter wind turbine, and then design option 3 includes both the solar array and the 92-ton geothermal system. And as you can see, design option 3 had the highest total in our decision matrix, which is why we propose that Juda School implement this design option. You can see it excels in the environmental analysis. It would lead to the greatest amount of environmental saving or reductions in emissions. And additionally, this is a safe option. It would reduce the need for that boiler, which is actually the only option that improves the safety of the building. And it has other perks as well. So I just want to highlight a few different things for that design option. This would produce 350 kilowatt hours annually, and as well as offset 34,000 cubic feet of natural gas consumption annually, which is a substantial amount, and actually translates to savings of not emitting 15,000 tons of CO2 annually. This system also had the longest lifetime. That geothermal system would last at least 50 years, and the solar system at least 30 years. So it had the longest system outline, or system lifetime of any of the 3 systems proposed. And it also establishes a safer building. So just highlighting some of these numbers, we have annual energy expenditures actually decreasing by 66%, or being offset by 66%, so that far exceeds your 25% goal. And what that translates to is an annual energy savings of approximately $63,000, which is a substantial amount when you're spending roughly $100,000 on energy, both natural gas and electricity annually. And then lastly, this option diversifies the Juda School renewable energy portfolio. It's adding on to that solar array that you have and implementing a renewable energy system that offsets natural gas consumption, which is a great opportunity for students to learn from about a different type of renewable energy system. So now I just want to touch on the costs for both of these systems and what that would look like in total. So the geothermal system, the initial cost would be about $480,000. As you can see, the major components of cost for this system are the loop installation and drilling costs, as well as that heat pump cost. The solar system is about $366,000, and the major initial costs for this system include the modules and the inverters, as well as installation fees for mounting and wiring. In total, this design option would be about $846,000, and it would lead to annual savings, as I said, of about $63,000. So with that, I just want to close by saying that this would not only have an impact in your local community by providing learning opportunities for students and community members, but it would also have an impact regionally. We learned a lot from other schools in the state of Wisconsin, and Juda could join that group and hopefully encourage other schools to implement similar infrastructure. And then lastly, it would have a national and global impact by reducing your carbon emissions for the whole school. Yeah. Thank you guys all for your time. And now I want to open the floor to any other questions about our analyses, or if you want to go back to review the design options, we're open to anything.
So if you go back to your design matrix, there you go, that's the fine page for it, right, there you go. So 1 is the lowest score and 3 is the best, is that what I'm taking? Okay. That's why I just wanted to make sure I was right.
Yep.
The 1.5. Visual
You're like,
obstruction.
oh, you both
decide.
really can't see either of them, so like they'll tie.
But why? I mean, I thought that there was no visual obstruction with geothermal at all. Why would it even? Why is
When
that-
during construction, you'll have
Oh, just
like,
during construction. Okay.
yeah, the drill rigs out there. So.
Okay.
And that system also includes the solar system,
Yeah.
so there's.
Oh, so a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that you guys would be pleased to hear that we don't actually use that baseball diamond out there as much as you guys probably think. usually it's just used for like gym classes and stuff.
Oh.
Very rare. I don't
Maybe
even
like
think we use it for Little League anymore.
We use it for flag football, it's the only sport that uses it.
Yeah.
So really, it wouldn't be, I think, as big of an issue as you guys are.
That's good.
That's really good. Yeah, we factored in,
For all my things.
we factored in the fact that you guys might be using that in the summer, but if you're saying that you use it more actually for gym classes in the fall, it might be better for us to actually drill the geothermal field during the summer, which would relieve a lot of those constructability issues we talked about, so that's great.
I would also like to have you consider that the solar construction on the rooftop, if that were done during the school year, it would be a way for the students to interact safely, as long as they adhere to whatever the construction company's safety standards are. I'm sure that they could access that area and perhaps participate, if not simply observe that operation. And I would expect that that would be a matter of a couple of weeks of interruption on the rooftop, so fairly minimal. But and on a larger maybe perspective on this graph that you have here, these weights that you placed on these 5 different aspects here, may benefit from some input from Scott and the decision makers, because I think these are largely based on the curriculum that was put in front of you by the university. So I think some input from the stakeholders and the ultimate owners of the system might sway this a little bit, but this is a work in progress, obviously.
Did the cost include for the solar replacing the roof?
No, we didn't take that into account because when we had met with Pat, he had said that the board was already looking into replacing that roof, so we assumed that that was something that was going to be done by the school already, so we didn't place that into the cost of designing this.
For geothermal wells, if one well were to collapse, would that compromise the whole system and you wouldn't be able to use it at all? Or
That's a
would it
good
just-
question.
Yeah, at least my knowledge of how geothermal systems work, they're basically like all their individual thing, and then they get like routed back
Yeah.
into one system. So I would imagine if like something happened to one that made it not usable, it wouldn't really affect the whole system. Although I don't think that them collapsing is common. It's actually like casing is put down in, like it's usually HDPE, so like that really hard plastic is like down in there, so it collapse is not usually a concern.
Mortar too.
Yeah, more like grouted, yeah.
Yeah, whether it's in series or parallel, right, like we talked about. Okay.
Any other questions based on decision matrix? I know that that might be kind of new to you guys. That's something that we use all the time in our engineering classes. And it's actually really helpful in life too.
I was going to say, we use it in the kind of social science world as well. I mean, just how do you make decisions about where an organization goes, whether you're a nonprofit, a business, or whatever. You just have certain criteria, and you have to, I mean, you have all your criteria here, but if you're making a decision about where do we invest money for social service agencies, the criteria are going to look different, but still you have to rate them.
Yeah.
So this is really,
It's really
I would say,
valuable.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah, I
think
used
the
it
math
to pick
teacher
my
salary
apartment
always
for
works.
next year. So it's really cool.
You want my opinion? I don't know. I've used decision matrices never like this though, and that's just there's all kinds of them in the world, right? This scale is just not as graduated as I'm used to, but that's fine. I mean, I've done a lot of back in our design days, we did a lot of 5-point scales, and and it starts with the idea of, and this is kind of run with this idea right down that money's no object, right, everybody? And is money an object? Always. But you work from here forward. Does everybody agree? And then we go from there. Does anybody else have any questions? Yeah, Trent.
So, say like if you were doing this and we thought maybe that safety was more important than environmental analysis, how easy would it be for you guys just to go in, make another flow chart based on our needs, and then just present that back to us?
Super
We
easy.
can do that after class if you want.
It's an Excel, so we literally just change one value and the whole thing will just fill in for itself. So, yeah, it's pretty cool, all the technology you have these days.
Clap. I think we should clap. Thank you, University City. We're very happy you're here. I'm going to cut the video off.